Welcome to a special edition of Message from the Street. We're going to go straight on into the topic. We're going to talk about Juneteenth. Juneteenth is now an official holiday, and it was started in the recognition of the slaves that were actually freed later on from their slave masters after the Emancipation Proclamation had been declared by 16th President Abraham Lincoln. So some slaves around the United States had been released from captivity, released from prison, released from being burden bearers to their European Caucasian slave masters. But others, especially down in the state of Texas, they didn't even know, they didn't even give the word that they were actually freed. So Juneteenth was created to acknowledge that particular operation or series of events. Now, today is Sunday, tomorrow is Monday. Monday is the day that it's officially being acknowledged. And I want you to take time and think about what I'm about to express. Now, the slaves were freed from the slave master. The current president made a declaration to acknowledge this through this holiday. But you can go around the entire country tomorrow and you would still see so-called Negroes, so-called African Americans, so-called blacks on the plantation at various places, McDonald's, fast food places that are not under the umbrella of the government decree. If so-called blacks are in these government positions, they are, categorized as the slaves that got emancipated. But the other slaves that didn't get emancipated, what Juneteenth was created for, are the slaves of the current day and time that'll still be working tomorrow. So I'm saying that all so-called black people should never work on Juneteenth again, regardless of the situations, unless you're working for yourself. If you're working for any corporation, organization, or business, you should make it your business to take off. Don't go in, period. Because when you look at it, we got the Declaration of Independence that acknowledged Independence Day. A lot of people are off all over the United States. Maybe it's the same people that are off that's going to be off during this federal holiday, but the circumstances are still the same. So we got people that are privileged because of their job status that have Independence Day off, but then we got other people where nationality doesn't have anything to do with it. They are still working. They are still working at the low-level, bottom feeders job, and they are being disrespected on Independence Day. But so-called black people can't let this become the normal for this particular day. We need to take off. We need to make a stance. We need to make a statement. See, what's going on the planet? What's going on in the United States? People have been conditioned to follow the dictatorship of tyrants that's running the country. We have Vaccine Joe, hit 'em up V19 Joe, that was trying to make it a mandate through OSHA that the citizens of the United States be forced to be inoculated with a so-called remedy to the C-19. And this remedy, people were dying, people were becoming sick, all types of things. So some people resisted, and some people are still resistant. And that is what is needed. We are the resistance. We got to set a precedent. Just like during the March on Selma. So-called blacks had to stand up for themselves because so-called whites and Europeans, and with the agreement of the government, were suppressing so-called blacks. They was treating so-called blacks like third-class citizens. Go to the back of bus. We don't care if you pay the exact same same amount of money as these Caucasian, European, so-called white people. Your money is only good for a seat in the back of the bus. Your money is only good for you to sit down unless another person of another nationality come past, man or woman, European, Caucasian, your seat belongs to them. And this is the hypocrisy that is still alive right now today in the United States. We see it with the police brutality. We see it with the unequal judgment. We can have two people, same exact charges. One of them are melanated and the other one melon recessive. That means that one of them is so-called black and one of them is so-called white. And the so-called black penalties would be stiffer. The so-called blacks jail time would be stiffer. So-called Europeans, they get the Caucasian, so-called whites, they get the slap on the wrist and they continue on. And this is the type of stuff that must stop, because this hypocrisy is poisoning the system, poisoning the way of life. The way of life has been poisoned and infected so much, we're to the point of no return. And because we're at the point of no return, we gotta know this, and we got to know that there's drastic times call for drastic measures, and we have to do things that's not in the box, not in accordance with the system, because the system is against our development, evolving, and advancement. And you can't not deny this. And if you deny it, that means that you have been programmed. I don't care if you so-called white, so-called black, Asian, so-called Mexican, Hispanic. If you think that the system is for you, you're a fool. They show us every day. They want to control us. They want to dictate to us. They want to be our mothers and fathers. They want to ration the resources of the planet. They want the planet to go in a certain type of process so they can always be the benefactors and we can always be the burden bearers. And the burden bearers of today, your children will be the burden bearers of tomorrow. And that's how they do. And if you think that's not true, the only thing you got to do is check the records. Let the records reflect. Look at the records. That's all I'm saying. Check the records and see how the hate that created hate in the United States is still alive and well, and it's coming from the top all the way down to the bottom. You get from the White House down to the bums or the people that are on the lower side or the lower levels of society because of their choices. You can go ask a so-called European white that has been indoctrinated with the white nationalist state of mind. They're in the gutter, and you know what they say? At least I'm not black. And that shows you the poisonous mindset of some people. And I'm never saying that it's all so-called European, Caucasian, white, but it's enough that are in prominent positions of power through the judiciary system, in the government, on the police force, in the legal system, whereas though a change gotta come. And if it don't come, there is disasters on the horizon. Brother Minister Malcolm said it's a caterpillar kid ready to explode once the wick is lit. When the wick is lit, it's going to be a big explosion because we got all this gunpowder and all this stuff compressed. This is anger, emotions, everything, man. And it's all because there's some people never want the slaves to be free. Never want the so-called slaves to have an independent way of thinking. They feel like that they are the masters, they are superior. And this is the lie that they keep on pumping to themselves. They pumping it to their children. And, you know, they play us 50 on board and say, man, we ain't getting down like that. But they still are. Ladies and gentlemen, this message from the streets is coming to a conclusion. And I'm telling you, I'm suggesting so-called black people, we must come together and spread the message. And this is a format. Any time that Juneteenth come around from here on out, do not work. I don't care if you at the car wash, McDonald's, serving papers, whatever. Do not work. It's supposed to be a day of emancipation and freedom. So exercise your freedom. Don't go to work for these slave masters. Sometimes you got to sacrifice something to get something. I bring you this message in love, and I leave you this message in peace. Peace.